Hello everyone, it's your boy Rainbow and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another podcast episode. I'm your host Rainbow and today we'll be talking about the duality and beauty of Maya as well as Leela. But before we begin, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. So what is Maya? What is Leela? If you guys have been listening to my previous episodes, you guys would know that I talk about Maya a lot. Maya in Hinduism just simply means illusion or magic. That's all you need to know about Maya. And we'll get deeper into it as the episode goes along. Leela, on the other hand, means divine play or just simply to play. So, an example of this is Lalita Tripura Sundari. Lalita, it means to play. She plays a lot. She is known as the playful one. So, when you think Lalita or Leela, you think of a play, a divine play, especially when it talks about divine gods and goddesses. So that's what essentially it means. The truth is, before we talk about Maya and Leela and what this means and the duality of, how these two components make creation, I do want to say that the truth that a lot of Hindu philosophies talk about is the truth of Brahman. The origin of everyone is this Brahman, this formless, I don't want to call it energy because that would be considered Shakti, and Brahman is beyond all dualities. But from this ultimate infinite reality, which is formless, we turn into different forms. So there are two types of Brahman that are talked about in Hindu philosophy. One is Nirguna Brahman and one is Saguna Brahman. So Nirguna Brahman is the Brahman which has no form, which is the one that we're used to knowing. The one that has no form, yet exists in all forms, yet the one that exists beyond the forms. Right? So I guess a way to think about this, because I know it's hard for the mind to grasp, is this ocean, right? Think of an ocean. It's formless, right? It has form, but stick with me here for this analogy, okay? Now, Saguna Brahman means the Brahman which has form. So think of Shiva, think of Vishnu, think of Brahma, think of Lakshmi, Saraswati, Kali, right? Those are, even though they're all the same, they all start with the letter, or not the letter, the syllable Om, which is the ultimate reality of Brahman. They all took different forms to do different roles, right? And they have different manifestations of different energies. Some are more fiercer, some are more protective, some are more calmer and gentle. But regardless, despite these different personalities and forms, they're all part of the same Brahman. Now, this is important because Nirguna Brahman, as you all know, is formless, right? In this case, think of the analogy of the ocean. But with Saguna Brahman, the Brahman that has form, think of droplets of that same ocean separating from the ocean, right? They're rising away from the ocean, and each drop of water looks different. One drop of water is yellow, another drop of water is blue, another one is red, and all of these different things, despite them coming from the same ocean. You could also think of rivers, too. All of these rivers, right? Think of like three rivers flowing differently. One goes to the west, other goes to the east, other goes to the north, but they all originate from the same ocean. They are still water. Or you could think of it this way. Take water, for example. It's just water, right? H2O. But water takes three different forms under three different temperatures, the three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Water turns into ice or into an ice cube when it goes under freezing temperature. Water stays liquid whenever it stays at room temperature. And water turns into a gas when it's extremely under hot temperature. Even though we all know that these are all the same form, H2O, they still take different forms according to different roles, different pressures, different temperatures, different circumstances, right? And it's the same thing with these concepts of Brahman. But you guys might be wondering, if we're all part of the same reality, if you and me watching this video are part of that same Brahman, that same ultimate reality which is formless, then why did we take different forms? And that is where Maya comes in, right? So Maya, remember the definition at the beginning of this video. Maya means form. It means illusion. It means magic. Maya allows for the illusion of separation. Maya is the energy that allows for Brahman to take form. So from one form to another, or I guess from a formless form to another form, there needs to be something that helps it take form, right? I guess another example is clay. I don't know if I have any artists in here, okay? But think of clay or mud or earth, right? It's formless, right? It's like it's all over the place. It starts out in a certain form. But it's formless, right? But your hands, your mind, your intellect already has a vision of how that clay is going to be used. So recently, at the time of this video, Ganesh Chaturthi, which is a celebration dedicated to Lord Ganesh, takes place. And one of the rituals or one of the ways that we celebrate Ganesh is by taking clay or Mother Earth and building a Ganesh statue out of it. So how did we go from this formless clay to this beautiful statue of Ganesh? And you would say, well, it was me who created it, right? There needs to be a creator or a force that allows things to take form. So in this case, when we took that clay and formed it into whatever form, or Ganeshji in this case, we used our hands. We used our mind, our intellect. Our intellect knows what we want this form to look like. And our hands are just the tool to create it. Similarly, all forms of Brahman exist, but they're unmanifested, and it just takes a certain cause for it to manifest. See, Durga, it is said that Durga manifested when Mahishasura was causing destruction in the world, right? But Durga was already there. It's just that she had a formless form. And it wasn't until Mahishasura started causing chaos that she took a form. But Durga was always there. Similarly, when the demon Raktavij, who had a boon that for every drop of blood that dropped on the ground, another clone would pop up, right? Because he was causing so much terror and chaos in the world, Kali had to manifest from Durga's anger and her third eye. But Kali was never born. She was already there. It's just that she was unmanifested. But she was already there. It's just that she didn't have form. Why? Because all of these forms that we now see were all ultimately a part of that formless Brahman. It's just that they only took form because there was a necessary purpose, a necessary cause. This thing called Maya. Now, what is Maya? Let's talk about Maya a little bit more, if you guys are a little confused. So, there's a story of how creation started to be. So, Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, was alone, and he had the power to create. In some stories, it is said that Lord Brahma emerged from Lord Vishnu's navel and things of that nature. And despite that, he only knew how to create. But he was bored because he had no one to play with. He wanted to play a game. And he was just bored because he had no friends. So he created this beautiful goddess named Maya Devi. Now keep in mind, Maya Devi was already there. It's just that she was unmanifested. She only manifested because of Lord Brahma's will, right? And so Maya Devi, she's right there, from Lord Brahma's creation. And Lord Brahma tells Maya Devi, basically, I'm bored and I want to play a game together. So Maya Devi says, bet. Okay, I apologize for my, slang here, but I'm trying to simplify the story as much as possible. Anyway, Maya Devi gets to creating, she's like creating this beautiful game. She creates Earth. She creates these like humans and animals, and she creates all of these things. And she takes a long time creating to the point where Lord Brahma's like, so when is this game starting? Because I'm getting like kind of bored, right? And so Maya's like, okay, well, the game's already started. And so what Maya Devi does is that she cuts Lord Brahma into pieces. Yes, the creator himself. And puts a piece of Brahma in every single living being inside of the earth. And she's like, the game has started now. And the rule of the game is to find yourself. She told Lord Brahma, you have to find yourself amongst these human beings. And that, my friends, is how the game of life started. Essentially, the game was created by Maya, this illusion of separation. She created this game to make us think that we are all separate, that we all have these different forms and all of these different things. But in reality, we're all different forms of the same entity or form, in this case, Brahma, according to this story, or Brahman. By the way, not to be confused. Brahma, the creator, a form of Brahman. Brahman is the formless, infinite reality. So anyway, that's how Maya was created. It was meant to, well, first off, it was meant to help us play. I see a lot of questions on the internet asking about if we are part of this infinite reality, Brahman, right? And our goal is to leave Maya, this illusion, right? And we go back to Brahman, the origin of which we all came from. Then what was the purpose of us needing to separate? And I've talked about this question in my reality episode. Go check that out. But essentially, what I came up with, or from the scriptures that I've read, the stories that I've heard, is that the reason why Brahman separates from its origin, even though it's never separated in the first place, it just takes a different form, is because it wants to play. And through that game, through playing this character, it wants to figure out who it really is. What is Brahman? Who am I? And it's sort of this game of self-discovery. It's sort of this game of, who am I? What am I able to do? What am I able to create? That's why I also say, according to this story of Maya Devi and Lord Brahma, this is why I always say we are the creator of our own reality. We each have a piece of Lord Brahma within us. Lord Brahma creates the societal roles, the society which we live in. Lord Brahma is a creator. And so if we have the ability to create art, create videos, create music, create any sort of expression, then we must have Lord Brahma within ourselves, or have some ability to create. That's why I say, if we're able to create anything within this realm of Maya, then we should be able to create our own reality through our actions, through our thoughts, through our forms, however that may be. And we are able to manifest because we ourselves are manifested beings. So that's why I always say, like, we are the creators of our own reality. Now, speaking more on Maya, I know I'm talking about Brahman, but Brahman and Maya sort of need to coexist in order for us to understand the purpose of life, why we are here. This is according to Hindu philosophy and the things I've read, all right? But essentially, Maya is another form of Shakti. Now, what is Shakti? Let's go all the way to the beginning, as if we haven't already discussed that. In some stories, it is said that the universe was dark. There was nothing but darkness. But out of that darkness, there emerged a desire. And that desire was to create, right? And so, out of this nothingness, so to speak, this unmanifested Brahman, yet that was always existing, emerged two different forms, Purusha and Prakriti, also known as Shiva and Shakti in some cases. But Purusha, for those of you that don't know, Purusha means consciousness. It is the masculine. You guys could also call it yin and yang. Yang would be the masculine form, right? So Purusha, Yang, Shiva emerged. Consciousness. Prakriti, Shakti, or Yin, which is the feminine form, emerged. Shakti, Prakriti, and Yin in this case is feminine, but Shakti means energy. Prakriti means nature. So consciousness and nature emerged from this nothingness. This nothingness split into two forms, two energies. And from those two energies, other forms started sprouting. So in this case, it is said that Shiva and Shakti both started creating the universe. And now that we understand who Shiva and Shakti are and how they originated, even though they both have no birth or origin because they're both endless and infinite beings, but Shakti is the feminine power, the feminine aspect of the universe and all creation. Shakti takes different forms. Lakshmi as the goddess of wealth and beauty and fortune. Saraswati as the goddess of knowledge, speech, and music and art. And Parvati, who is the goddess of devotion, nourishment, and pretty much the mother of the universe, right? The wife of Lord Shiva. Now let's talk about Parvati, because she's really important. Parvati herself, who is a form of Shakti, or Shakti herself, takes the form of goddess Durga, takes the form of goddess Kali, takes the form of goddess Parvati, Sati. Those are her forms. And she also takes the form of Annapurna, which we will get into later in this episode, right? So she takes all of these forms. Now, these different forms have 108 to 1,008 names. And one of the names of Shakti is Mahamaya. Mahamaya, you guys. And who is Mahamaya, right? We talked about Maya Devi, which again is a form of Shakti, but we don't realize that when Lord Brahma creates. But like I said before, Maya Devi was unmanifested. She just needed a reason to manifest into a form. Mahamaya means beyond the Maya, right? The mother of Maya. Now, also, it's interesting is that Shakti Parvati, right? Durga Kali, she is considered to be the sister of Krishna. So let's talk a little bit about Krishna's birth, Krishna Janmashtami. So whenever Lord Krishna, who's an avatar of Lord Vishnu, the protector, whenever he was born on earth as a child, his uncle Kans, a demon, tried to kill him because it was prophesied that the eighth child would kill him, and Krishna was the eighth child, and so he was born. Vasudev switched the baby Krishna with a girl that Yashoda had already given birth to. Yashoda is Krishna's foster mother, and I'll explain in a little bit how that goes. But essentially, they're switched at birth. A girl and a boy are switched at birth. The girl ends up being Yogamaya. Yogamaya is a form of Shakti and the sister of Lord Krishna. Yogamaya, whenever Kans tries to kill the baby girl, the girl turns into goddess Durga and says that the child that has been prophesied to end her life has already been born, and so she disappears. Notice how she was initially called Yogamaya. Notice how one of the names of goddess Durga or Shakti is called Mahamaya. Maya is the master of illusion, the master of magic. So it's really interesting to see that in some of the stories. And these are only a few of the stories that include Maya. A lot of them have Maya in them. Now let's talk about another story. Speaking of Lord Vishnu, let's talk about another story involving Maya. So Maya, as you guys know, is illusion magic, which creates the illusion of separation, right? Because as you all know, Maya creates that illusion that we are all different from one another, that we are all different forms, but we forget that we are all the same, come from the same consciousness, come from the same prakriti or nature. We all come from the same formless infinite reality, except under the disguise of Maya, we are all distracted and we can all get binded to these illusions, so to speak. But one story in particular that I really liked was that of sage Narada. Narada asked Lord Vishnu about Maya. So I'll just read it from this article because I feel like it does a better, explanation of what went down, and hope you guys enjoy. In the Devi Bhagavata Purana, it is mentioned that once Narada asked Vishnu about the secret nature of Maya or illusion. What is Maya? Asked Narada. The world is my Maya. He who accepts this realizes me, said Vishnu. Before I explain, will you fetch me some water? Requested the Lord, pointing to a river. Narada did as he was told, but on his way back, he saw a beautiful woman. Smitten by her beauty, he begged the woman to marry him, and she agreed. Narada built a house for his wife on the banks of the river. She bore him many children. Loved his wife, adored by his sons and daughters, Narada forgot all about his mission to go fetch water for Lord Vishnu. In time, Narada's children had children of their own. Surrounded by his grandchildren, Narada felt happy and secure. Nothing could go wrong. Suddenly, dark clouds enveloped the sky. There was thunder, lightning, and rain. The river overflowed, broke its banks, and washed away Narada's house, drowning everyone he loved, everything he possessed. Narada himself was swept away by the river. Help! Help! Somebody please help me, he cried. Vishnu immediately stretched out his hand and pulled Narada out of the water. Back in Vaikunta, Vishnu asked, Where is my water? How can you be so remorseless? How can you ask me for water when I have lost my entire family? Said Narada. Vishnu smiled. Calm down, Narada. Tell me, where did your family come from? From me. I am the only reality, the only entity in the cosmos that is eternal and unchanging. Everything else is an illusion, a mirage, constantly slipping out of one's grasp. You, my greatest devotee, knew that. Yet enchanted by the pleasures of worldly life, you forgot all about me. You deluded yourself into believing that your world and your life were all that mattered and nothing else was of any consequence. As per your perspective, the material world was infallible, invulnerable, perfect. That is Maya. Thus, Vishnu dispelled Narada's illusion, bringing him back to the realm of reality and making him comprehend the power of Maya over man. So another way to see this, and I believe Lord Krishna talks about this in the Bhagavad Gita as well. Maya is an illusion that has a beginning and end. Things that are temporary, things that end, things that don't last forever. Think of, life, for example, our life here on earth. We will all eventually die. That is Maya. Um, the seasons, spring, fall, winter, summer, those are also part of Maya. Our emotions. One day we are angry and violent and we turn these into ferocious beings, and then another day we're like, oh my god, life is so fun, life is so beautiful, and then another day we're like, I'm depression. I don't wanna wake up. There are other days where you feel that way, or and the three gunas as well, which Lord Krishna talks about, sattva, rajas, tamas. I'll simplify for those of you that haven't read the book. Highly recommend it though, because it does a better explanation than what I'm doing here. Sattva means purity and goodness, right? When you're in the mode of goodness, when you're in the mode of purity, think of saints, think of pious people. That's what sattva is. Rajas is passion, right? So think of when you express yourself emotionally, when you're angry, when you're passionate, when you're dancing, when you're acting, right? When you're moving around. That is Rajas. And Tamas is ignorance. Ignorance as in violence, as in hurting people with no explanation and just simply being ignorant. The three gunas influence our decisions or choices or emotions, how we live life according to the rules of Maya, or this illusion of Maya created by Lord Vishnu, which is also a form of Shakti, or in this case, Durga Parvati, however you want to call her. And that is what Lord Krishna and Lord Vishnu try to explain. Maya is something that is an illusion, that is not real, because it is always changing. When you think of Maya, you should think of things that change. Think of history, for example. Look at our government. We went from an independent country to now a country being divided by political party. Think of any, music, right? Remember the 80s? We had disco, we had like all of these amazing songs that were popular. And now what's trending is Sabrina Carpenter, right? Things of that nature, things that change. That is Maya. Because it is not infinite. It is always changing. It is not unchanging. The real reality, the real truth is Brahman, that which is unchanging, that which is infinite. But let's talk about the duality of Maya now that we've made it this far into the episode. So we all know that Maya, if we are binded by it, we can get trapped, right? Even Narada, who is a renowned sage, who is a devotee, a bhakt of Narayana, the god who is beyond and sees beyond the illusion, even he was blinded by Vishnu's Maya, by Vishnu's illusion. Even he could not be beyond illusion. And from these stories, we know that Maya has a very powerful effect on all of us. It is because of this Maya, this illusion, that we are now playing our characters. I am Brahman in the form of Rainbow. You guys are in the form of whatever your name is, right? So according to Maya, in this lifetime that I'm currently living, I have this certain government name. I was born on this certain day. I have this certain body, these certain needs, these certain medical conditions, etc., etc., right? And I live with my family, and I live this, and I have this person, and I have these friends, things of that nature, right? And based on the stories that we've heard, Maya can seem a little negative. But let's talk about the duality of Maya. The duality of Maya is that we all need Maya in order to live, in order to play. Because if we were all stuck in this formless consciousness, we would be bored. But Maya creates that desire for us to create, for us to explore, for us to learn, for us to play as these different beings and characters. But what Lord Vishnu and Krishna remind us is that, hey, this is just a game. This is just an illusion. You only came here to play for a little bit, but then that playtime is over, honey. Like that's what they remind us. Don't get binded to Maya because it's always changing, an illusion. Because if you keep attaching yourself to these temporary illusions, then your soul gets binded. and it reincarnates over and over and over and over again until you realize, hey, this is all an illusion, this is all not real, right? We're only here for a temporary visit, so to speak. You guys remember that at the beginning of this episode, I did say Maya was a goddess. Maya is also one of the names used to describe the goddess Shakti or Durga, right? Mahamaya. And so I want to share this story of the duality of Maya because from a lot of the texts, we know, or I guess we sort of understand, Maya has a negative quality to it. After all, Maya is the master of duality, good and bad, good and evil, black and white, pious, unpious, religious, non-religious, right? Boy, girl. She's the master of illusion, the master of separation. The truth is that we're all one consciousness split into different forms, but Maya creates that illusion of, hey, we're all separate and we're all different. But Maya herself is a goddess, Maya Devi, Mahamaya, Maya. And that's one of the many names that are used to describe Kali, that are used to describe Durga, Parvati. This is very important. So Parvati is the consort or the wife of Lord Shiva. Keep in mind, Parvati is the mother. Shiva is the father. Parvati is Prakriti or nature, material nature. Shiva is more spiritual nature, consciousness, Purusha, right? Back to the whole when the universe split into two, right? So anyway, so one day Lord Shiva and Parvati got into a fight. They got into an argument about material desires, the material world essentially. And so Shiva said that everything that is material nature was Maya, or just an illusion, including the food that humans ate. And so naturally, Parvati got angry at this statement because she herself governs and controls and pretty much creates this material nature. She is the mother of material nature herself. She is Prakriti. She is nature herself. And because Shiva has basically dismissed her as just simply an illusion, she wanted to show Shiva and the world her importance as Maya and how without Maya we cannot survive, right? And so she basically told Lord Shiva, let's see how the world would live without me. And so she disappeared entirely from the entire universe, the entire world, the entire existence. And so whenever Parvati disappeared, the world fell into a famine. Everybody was hungry, deprived of food, and everybody was hungry. Everybody was dying of hunger. And so everybody pleaded to Lord Shiva, like, please give us some food. The gods even came before Lord Shiva and, begged him for food. But Shiva could not find any food because, again, food comes from Parvati, and Parvati disappeared. Now, seeing the distress of her devotees as well as the people of the earth, Parvati took pity, took mercy, and, she became compassionate because she couldn't bear her children starving of hunger. And so, eventually, Parvati descended into the only kitchen available in Varanasi or Kashi as Annapurna, and she turned it into the goddess of food, the goddess of nourishment. And Shiva realized that there was only one kitchen available in the earth in Kashi or Varanasi. And so Shiva went there as a beggar for food. But to his surprise, his wife Parvati in the form of Annapurna was there. And so Annapurna sees Lord Shiva as a beggar and offers him food. And so in a lot of the pictures or art that you will see, Annapurna has a ladle of food, of rice, and Lord Shiva is there in front of her just as a beggar. And it shows the importance of Maya, or at least the goddess here in this case, and food. That even if we're all spiritually, aware of our truth, and even if we're like the greatest sages of all time, even if we are people who have this spiritual awareness of our true reality, we still need food to sustain our bodies. We still need food to live this life, even if it is an illusion, even if it is temporary. We still need food to sustain ourselves, right? As humans, as animals, as whatever being you took on this earth, you still need food to survive, because I cannot perform this speech, this video, without having a body, right? The body is my vehicle. And the soul is just witnessing things. It's just learning. But what is making me do this action is Maya herself, Prakriti, the three gunas, which are all forms of Maya and Prakriti herself. Prakriti herself is the doer that allows us to do action. And similarly, that food that sustains our bodies is also Prakriti, is also nature. That body that we have right now is also a form of Prakriti, it's also a form of nature. Nature allows us to enjoy the form as long as we can. Nature allows us to enjoy these things: oxygen, food, water. That's why it's important to not pollute the earth. That's why it's important to protect the environment, to protect our mother. Because our mother is Prakriti. She sustains us. She creates us. And, if you make her angry, she can also destroy us, right? She is the origin of all the powers and of everything. She allows for everything to happen. And so that is the beauty of Maya. It's not all bad. It's just that it can get bad when you get too greedy or too attached to certain things to the point where you forget yourself, right? So it's important to have a balance. Acknowledge the importance of Maya, and also acknowledge the lust, or I guess the excessive attachment to Maya, right? Excessive attachment leads to constant reincarnation and suffering, because you're constantly wishing, constantly desiring for more and more and more and more without being grateful for it. And, you end up losing yourself. And then the other duality of Maya is that we still need Maya. We still need our bodies. We still need to take care of ourselves. We still need to nourish it with food. We still need to protect the environment in order for us to live. We still need to take care of our homes, right? We still need to practice good hygiene. We still need to perform our duties according to according to our lifetime of Maya, the small lifetime that we have. So if your role, for example, is to be a teacher, then teach to the best of your ability. If your role is to work in the government as best as you can and do your duty righteously, right? It is not saying completely abandon this earth and completely abandon your duties because everything is an illusion and everything is Maya. No. If anything, you should have a balance. Acknowledge that, yes, this is only a temporary visit, this is only a dream, but also acknowledge, hey, I can use the tools that I have around me. I can use this tool, my body, my speech, my role, to make a good influence for humanity, to serve humanity, to be a good person. So that is the beauty and the duality of Maya. Maya teaches us to have balance. Maya teaches us that without her we cannot exist, nor can we create, nor can creation be sustained. And without Maya we cannot destroy. Right? So Maya herself is a beautiful thing, but it can also be a dangerous thing. It's like a knife. Think of it as a knife, okay? A knife has a duality. It cuts through things, but it's the intention behind how you use that tool that makes it a difference between moral and immoral. See, let's take, for example, person A. Person A is a surgeon, and they have a knife, and they're cutting through a person's skin in order to perform surgery on a certain part of the body. Then take person B. This person has already stabbed a person with no reason whatsoever, filled with hatred, and just stabs them and potentially unalives that person. See how both of them have the same knife, have a knife in general, but they use it with different intentions. That's how Maya is. Maya can be a lifesaver, such as, in nourishing our bodies and providing food, or it can also be dangerous if used in the wrong intentions. So yeah, that's essentially what Maya is. Adding on to the duality of Maya, Maya can make us also forget that we're all part of the same consciousness. Unfortunately, I see fights with politics over basic human rights, our basic human rights to live, our basic human rights to have a free, healthy environment, free healthcare, which is for everybody, not just a certain group of people. And this division, again, is also created by Maya. There's a spiritual aspect to it. Similarly, I also see other religious groups fighting. Hindus versus Muslims, Muslims versus Hindus, Christians saying Jesus Christ is the way. Every single one of you have to remember, everything is one, right? All religions are equal and should be respected, of course, due to their differences. I'm not saying that, they shouldn't be. I'm saying treat everybody with respect the same way you want them to treat you. Because we forget, especially those that follow the Sanatana Dharma philosophy, that even a Muslim, even a Christian, even your worst enemy is a part of that same ultimate infinite reality, that which is Brahman. They're all forms of Brahman. They're all still part of that same consciousness. We are all one. It's just that we split into different forms according to Maya, according to this illusion, right? And we should help one another and be united instead of dividing ourselves over which religion is better and my religion is this and you should follow my religion, otherwise I'm going to colonize you, and my religion is better and you should follow this path and you should follow that path. How about we all just respect one another, accept that everybody has divinity within themselves, and just help one another in case one of us need help. So for example, one thing I saw in India is about the watermelon movement. I can't even say the word here on YouTube, otherwise I'll get shadow banned. But everything that's going on in watermelon has caused this worldly movement. Even though I'm not Muslim by any means, I can still recognize the divinity within the people of watermelon. I can still recognize whenever somebody needs help. I don't care what religion or what caste or what skin color, gender you have. Your duty and our duty is to help one another in any way that we can. So if they're asking us for help, then we should provide that help, especially if we have the resources and the time to do so. I'm not going to discriminate, because even Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, those who see me in everybody will attain me. Those who see me in everybody are my true devotees. So I see Krishna in a Muslim, I see Krishna in a Hindu, I see Krishna in a Christian, I see Krishna in an atheist, I see Krishna in everybody, because Krishna exists within the soul. Krishna is that ultimate reality, at least for me, right? And I mean, Kali is also, I've accepted her as well as my ultimate reality. But still, regardless of your gender, regardless of your religion, you should still help one another. You should still help one another. And although Maya creates this illusion of separation that we are better than one another in all of these different things, I think the other duality of Maya is to teach us how to be united despite being separate and despite being different forms. That is what Maya is trying to teach us. How to be united despite our differences. How to be united and become one despite our different opinions, different beliefs, different forms, different looks, and such. Because we as a people have that ability. It's just that we are blinded by this discrimination, these labels that society has created, these divisions of barriers that have been created. So just remember your power of connectiveness, interconnectiveness. But why do we need Maya? That is because we came here to play. We came here to perform what is called leela. That is why certain gods take different forms to perform leela. Now, how does Maya coexist with leela? As you guys know, at the beginning of this episode, I said that leela means to play. And all of these different forms of Brahman, right, Saguna Brahman, come to play their divine role. But what exactly is Leela, or what does it have to do with creation? We all know that we all come from this Nirguna Brahman, meaning the Brahman that has no form, that is infinite, that is the ultimate reality. If you think about it, the misconception of Hinduism is that it is polytheistic. And true, while Hinduism has different gods and goddesses, they all are part of the same infinite reality, which is called Brahman, or in this case, Om. So let's take, for example, the mantra to invoke Lord Shiva, Om Namah Shivaya. Om is at the beginning of the mantra. Or let's say if we want to invoke Lord Vishnu, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Again, Om. If you want to chant the mantra to invoke Brahma, Om Brahma Devaya Namaha. Om again at the beginning. Now let's take it for the goddesses, right? The three Devi. For Lakshmi, it would be this mantra right here. Again, same thing. Om is at the beginning. Parvati, this mantra right here, or in this case, Annapurna, which is another form of Parvati. Again, notice how both of them have Om at the beginning. And also with Saraswati, this is the mantra right here. And notice how all of these different mantras, despite three different goddesses, have the letter or the syllable Om. And so what it teaches us, Maya, at least the one who creates different forms, or the one who manifests or helps manifest this formless form into in form, it teaches us that even though these forms are different, have different roles, have different appearances, have different likes, dislikes, they're all part of the same infinite reality. In Hinduism, it's not a one thing where one god is more supreme than the other. No. It teaches us that everyone has different likes, different dislikes, different energies, different manifestations of the divine. And everyone has their desired Ishtadevata, which means their preferred god or goddess, which is why Brahman takes different forms in order to suit our energies, our different manifestations. So, like I said at the beginning as well, these gods and goddesses have different energies. If you want someone to give you courage and power, especially as a woman, you would probably be gravitated towards Durga or Kali. If you're in the battlefield, you would pray to them. If you are looking for higher levels of knowledge, you would go towards Krishna or Shiva. If you need a fierce protector who immediately protects you, Narasimha, a form of Vishnu. If you want to, I don't know, obtain money or material wealth and prosperity, understand the meaning of abundance and love, you would probably go to Radha or Lakshmi. If you want knowledge or to get good grades, you would probably go to Gayatri or Saraswati. Right? So all of these different forms have different purposes, different energies, different roles that provide what humans need or what living beings need. But all of them, no matter what form you worship, they all form and bestow moksha, which is the liberation of the cycle of death and rebirth. And they all offer that moksha because moksha essentially means liberation of ignorance, liberation from Maya or illusion, and realization of the truth. And moksha is not necessarily a death, but rather becoming one with the divine, becoming one with Brahman, and realizing that you have been Brahman all along, except you were playing a character. And that is essentially what Leela is. Leela is playing. We are all Brahman playing the character that we have created based on our previous life karma or our circumstances and the things in our lifetime right now. Right? That's why I say we create our reality. And we have come here to play different characters, different forms, right? An example of the divine gods and goddesses playing is Radha and Krishna. They all, again, Radha and Krishna are part of the same form of Parabrahmani, as some people call it. And Krishna, it is said in the Brahma Vivarta Purana that all beings emanated from him. From one part of the body, Lord Shiva emanated. From his mouth and tongue, Saraswati emerged. And from one side of his body, one being emerged. And one of those beings was Radha. But Radha is Krishna's soul. Without Radha, Krishna is nothing. Even though they're one and the same, even though they are one and the same, they still split into two in order to teach us the leela of love, in order to play divine lovers. Because in order to teach people love, you need two people. They needed to split into two in order to teach us the unconditional nature of love, true love. Love that does not require societal or maritable bonds. In order to teach humans, love is not dictated by marriage or by these societal bonds that society teaches us. Love is not binding, but rather it is freeing. It is unconditional. There's no conditions to love. You don't need to do this sort of thing to prove to the world that you're in love. And as well, even though they're also divine lovers, they are also a representation of the relationship between a devotee and God. So God in this case is Krishna, and Radha is the devotee, the bhakt. And they teach us that love and devotion for God is unconditional. God loves all his devotees equally, and the devotee loves God. Or in this case, Radha, who is the epitome of the devotee, teaches us how to love God unconditionally, without conditions, without desires, without ego. How true love does not have ego or envy or anger and none of these different things. That is their divine leela. That is their divine play. Everything that exists, everything that happens is due to a divine play. It is a movie, it is a film, it is a dream. And nothing happens without the will of these forms of Brahman, Supreme Brahman. We're all playing this divine play, according to whoever you believe in. And yeah, you could say that you're the main character in your story. It's just a story that we're all living in. In the purpose of Leela, when it comes with the association with Maya, Maya is a tool for us to use in order for us to perform, in order for us to play our certain roles, right? So if you're a teacher, teach. If you're a student, learn. If you're a video content creator, create videos. And so, as I said before, with the story of Annapurna, Maya is the tool that we can use in order to perform, in order to sustain our bodies, our mind, and things of that nature. But what is the ultimate purpose of Maya in this Leela, in this divine play? What is the whole purpose of Maya? Why are we binded and trapped in this, I guess you could call it prison of illusion or prison of comfort and magic, however you perceive it? Why did we need to separate from Brahman in the first place? Why do we need to take different forms? Why? What is the purpose of Maya? Why do fishes exist? Why do birds exist? Why do we exist differently and look differently? It's to teach us to find the Brahman within ourselves, to find our infinite reality within ourselves and play a role in this society, play a role in this game, play a role and impact humanity according to our gifts or tools that Maya Devi has bestowed upon us. An example of this, when Krishna was born, right? Remember we talked about Yoga Maya. So Devaki and Vasudev, who were Krishna's parents and gave birth, Devaki had to give birth to 8 children in order for the prophesied child, in this case Krishna, could kill guns, or, the demon that was causing so much terror and destruction in the earth. But before this, 6 of his brothers were killed by none other than his own uncle. And those 6 children in a previous lifetime were once cursed by a sage, which was their own grandfather. And their own grandfather cursed them, saying, all of you 6 children are going to be killed by your own uncle or father. I can't remember the story. But essentially, that curse turned out to be a blessing. Those 6 children that were unalived during Krishna's birth ended up gaining moksha, meaning liberation from rebirth. And they would be free and attain salvation. Now you might be thinking, why would Krishna, the Supreme Lord, allow for 6 innocent children to be killed, right? They did nothing wrong. Keep in mind, in their past life, they did mischievous things. They pretty much messed with the tapasya, or the meditation of their family member, which is why those 6 children got cursed. But if you zoom out and stop focusing on one narrow thing, you would realize it's all a divine play. That curse was due to Vishnu's plan, that the 6 children were going to be born in a certain way and then fulfill the curse by the grandfather or the family member, was also a part of Vishnu's plan, a part of Vishnu's will. Nothing can happen without Vishnu's will. So everything was a divine Leela. Everything was a play. Everything was planned according to divine will. And that is what Leela teaches us. It's a story. It's a play. We have come here to play our roles, our characters, and then detach and return to our source. That's what Leela, the purpose of Leela is. So to recap, Maya is illusion or magic. It is both necessary, yet it can also be dangerous. It can bind the soul into constant reincarnation if it keeps being greedy for these temporary illusions, such as greed for money or lust for wealth or temporary pleasures like luxury and comforts, and doing so at the expense of other people's pain or causing other people pain for no reason at all. But it is also beautiful, and it is also a tool because, well, Shiva insulted Parvati, who is Prakriti or nature, and pretty much told Parvati, hey, your food is illusion. However, Maya, let's remember, Maya is also a tool. It is necessary for us to perform in order for us to play, right? We need food to sustain ourselves. We need water. And even though these might be part of these grand illusions or this magic, it is still necessary. Brahman is the formless infinite reality. Nirguna Brahman, as some call it, the one that has no form. That is our infinite reality. That is where we all come from. Brahman has split into millions and infinite forms. Maya allows for there to be separation, this illusion of separation, in order for us to play as different roles, as different beings, in different colors, in different looks, in different personalities. That is the beauty of Maya. It allows us to play. Now, what exactly are we playing, and what is the purpose of the game of life? The game of life is simple. We need to find ourselves. Who are we really, beyond these societal labels, beyond the role that we are performing? Who are we? If you look within, right? You will realize you are Atman, meaning the eternal soul, the infinite soul, which is a piece of that Brahman, the ultimate infinite reality. And if you remove the distinct differences between each of us, you will realize we are one and the same. We are all this infinite Brahman, playing the game of life, trying to figure out who we are, trying to play different roles, trying the best we can in our game of life. And that is the whole purpose of life, is finding ourselves and finding the truth, so that eventually we become free, obtain salvation, and go back to our origin, which is Brahman. And become free from suffering, become free from this illusion, this attachment. But we should also give thanks to the illusion and attachment to those things, because without Maya, we cannot understand the beauty of Brahman. We cannot understand this knowledge if we ourselves have not gone through suffering, if we ourselves do not go through this spiritual knowledge, if we do not take different forms in order for us to play the role of the teacher and the student. I would not have understood this philosophy had I not listened to other forms of Brahman, in the form of gurus, in the form of teachers, in the form of books that were written by ancient philosophers and spiritual seekers. I took the role as a student, and now I'm taking the role as someone who's sharing that knowledge I have just gained. So that is the whole beauty of Maya. And it is up to you if you want to use Maya, this magic, this illusion, to your advantage and for the advantage of humanity. Or however you decide to use it, it is up to you. You have the choice and the free will after all. And before I end this wonderful episode, I do want to say, make sure to go check out my previous episodes if you guys are interested. I have a playlist. It'll be down in the description. And thank you so much for listening and tuning in. And until next time, peace and love out.